are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have everybody here on this Football Friday. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. But before I get into that, well, I just want to fix something really quick because obviously I was still doing the baseball podcast. I forgot to switch something, but we're all good now. So before I get into what we're going to talk about today, I just want to remind you guys, as always, as we like to do on the beginning of the show, tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show and makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, this is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that, let's get right into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to recap last night's game between the Raiders and the Chargers. Not the game I was expecting at all. So we'll get into that. The second part of the show, we'll preview the triple header for tomorrow. There's 3 games tomorrow, so we'll go through each game. And then in the final 2 segments, we'll preview all the games for Sunday. So that's what's on tap for the show today. And I knew one day I was going to forget to switch the podcast labels, and that ended up happening today because I obviously streamed the baseball podcast in my basement. And so I then came up here to get ready for the football one. And as we just came on, I saw that the baseball was still there. So that's on me. But it's a quick fix. Not a big deal. So, and then I had the wrong show segment up. But, so with that, let's get right into this game from last night. Because, oh boy, it was a doozy, to say the least. So I said that this score was going to be 19-17, a low-scoring game. But that was not the case with this game. This game, I don't even know what to say. I really don't. We went years without seeing, a team score 60-plus points. Well, we've seen it happen twice now. The Dolphins scored 70 against the Broncos earlier in the season. The Raiders last night. So last week, they scored no points at home, right? They lost 3-0 to the Vikings. Last night, they scored 63 points. 63 points. I don't even know what to say. They outscored the Chargers 42-0 at the half. It was 42-0. I mean, I don't know what to say. I had the Raiders in my spread pool and I switched it. Because I was like, you know what? These guys, both teams have guys out. I'm just going to take the points here. And after that first drive, I was like, all right, I'm in trouble. Because on the first drive, Raiders Chargers actually started the game. They punted, replay 7 yards. They punted. Then the Raiders went 12 plays, 68 yards, 5 minutes, 23 seconds of time of possession down the field. And Zamir White, who was the lead back last night for the Raiders because there was no Josh Jacobs. And if Josh Jacobs played in this game, I would have kept it as the Raiders. But for some reason, I was like, I'm just gonna switch it now because I didn't know. Zamir White ended up having a decent game. So 7-0. Then the Chargers fumbled. It was a sack, fumble, recovery. And then the Raiders turned that into 7 points. AidenO'Connell connected with Trey Tucker for a 30-yard touchdown. It got reviewed because he did bobble it a little bit, so they didn't know if he if he reestablished it, and then he was out of because he stepped out of bounds. So, but the call stood. Then they fumbled again, and that was on the next drive. The Chargers, Joshua Kelly fumbled. Raiders turned that into 7 points. AidenO'Connell connected with Jacoby Myers for a touchdown. So it was 21-0 after the first quarter. So the Chargers were just beating themselves. Then both teams traded punts. Raiders scored another touchdown. AidenO'Connell connected with Michael Mayer, the rookie, for an 11-yard touchdown. So that made it 28-0. Then it was 35-0. Brandon Bolden scored a touchdown last night. A 26-yard touchdown. It was a direct snap. He took that to the house. 35-0. Chargers turned it over on downs. Raiders turned that into a touchdown. Tucker's second touchdown. That was a 20-yard one. 20-yard touchdown reception to make it 42-0 at the half. And they actually interviewed Brandon Staley. On the Amazon Prime broadcast, they interviewed Brandon Staley going into the half. Like, why? Why would you even do that? Then the Raiders scored again, and this actually was good for my fantasy league because I have Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams in leagues. And Jacoby Myers threw a touchdown pass to Devontae Adams, so I went crazy for that. So I was happy about that. So we got a win out of that at least, even though in a couple of leagues I went against Zamir White and the Raiders defense, which wasn't good. But then the Chargers got on the board. Easton Stick connected with Joshua Palmer making his return for a 79-yard touchdown. That was a blown coverage by the Raiders defense. So that made it 49-7. You're like, hey, maybe we got a comeback here. Then both teams punted. And then the Chargers fumbled again, and that got returned for a touchdown. So that made it 56-7. And then the Chargers threw a pick six. I mean, the Raiders read that play perfectly. Got intercepted for a pick six. So that made it 63-7. And then the Chargers tacked on a couple of touchdowns to at least make the score, if you even want to call it more respectable. And yeah, so the Chargers dropped to 5-9. Raiders improved to 6-8. I mean, if you look at Easton Stick's numbers, I mean, they look pretty good. 23 of 32, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. I honestly, at one point, didn't think the Chargers were going to score a point in this game. They ran the ball for 92 yards. Isaiah Spiller ended up being their leading rusher in this game. Joshua Kelly was second in rushing with 22. Joshua Palmer ended up being their leading receiver. He had 4 receptions for 113 yards and a touchdown. Quinn Johnston had a touchdown. Alex Erickson had a touchdown in this game. That was the Chargers. And then you look at the turnovers. Easton Stick had 2 lost fumbles, a pick, the pick six. Obviously, they actually fumbled on the kickoff too. Kickoff or a punt. And then Joshua Kelly fumbled as well. Gerald Everett fumbled, but they luckily recovered it. So, not that it really made a difference. Then you look at AidenO'Connell's numbers. 20 of 34, 248 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jacoby Myers threw a touchdown in this game. Actually threw 2 passes in this game to Devontae Adams. One of them was for the touchdown. They ran the ball for 124 yards. Zamir White, 69 yards rushing and a touchdown. Amir Abdullah had 32. Brandon Bolden had 25. He had the rushing touchdown, the direct snap. Raiders were having a lot of fun last night. Devontae Adams, 8 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. Trey Tucker, 3 for 59, 2 touchdowns. Michael Mayer had a touchdown, 39 yards receiving. Jacoby Myers had 32 yards receiving and a touchdown. Yeah, the Raiders had a lot of fun. But, I mean, it honestly should have, just fired Brandon Staley at the half. Because that was just... I mean, they gave up. The Chargers quit. I mean, there's no way around it. The Chargers flat out quit in this game. Because I'm like, I don't think the Chargers are this bad. unless they want to get somebody fired. They want to get Brandon Staley fired, and he should be, because that was I am surprised that they scored points. I really did not think they were going to score a single point. And again, but that was when the game started. Like before the game, I was like, I don't know, maybe this game's going to be close, but it's just, oh man, that is just, it is ridiculous. What happened last night? I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and we saw another game 60 plus points scored in it, and it was against another AFC West team. I mean, this involved two AFC West teams. The Broncos had 70 points dropped in, and the Chargers last night at 63. I mean, and the Raiders were still throwing. They were still throwing passes because Antonio Pierce was like, "Yeah, we want to keep the foot on the gas pedal." Mike McDaniel, they were talking about how classy he was, not going for the record, for the most points scored in a single game, even though they dropped 70. So, But here's the thing, like, at least for Sean Payton, that happened, and the Broncos, this happened earlier in the season, and the Broncos have looked like a much better team since that game, and they could make the playoffs. Brandon Staley, you got no time. You got no time, and your team is out of it. Your team's out of it. Your starting quarterback's done for the year. You're done. You're out of here. There's no way that Brandon Staley will survive this. There's no way. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really surprised that he should have got fired after this game. I would have been like, enough is enough already. Get him out of here. But they didn't do that. So I guess we're gonna have to wait till the end of the season because he needs to go. And Bill Belichick, that is your next destination right there, is the Chargers. Because the Chargers need to revamp this defense, and you got a good offense in place. I think you should keep Kellen Moore. Let him run the offense. Belichick comes in, focuses on the defense, and you go from there. Because you still have a lot of playmakers on this team. The Chargers just have gotten killed by injuries. I mean, you get Herbert back. Hopefully Mike Williams bounces back from the ACL. Still got Keenan Allen. Maybe Quentin Johnston in year 2 is a better receiver. Eckler maybe bounces back because he's had a rough season too. He hasn't been as consistent. Go out and do that. Chargers will be a better team. Right now, the season just has been a disaster. And actually, I want to pull I took a screenshot of this. I think I have it right. Yeah, so this was on the telecast last night. So, since 2021, including the postseason, 31 games decided, Chargers games, 31 games decided by 8 or fewer points. Tied for third most in the NFL. They're 15-16. That's their record. Now, one of the comments was, well, at least this game wasn't a one-score game. Yeah, no. And the worst part about it is, for me, I had the Raiders. And I said, you know what? Take the points. And man, do I regret it. And you know what's funny? I almost picked the Broncos in that game that they lost to the Dolphins. But thankfully I didn't. I said I'm going to keep the Dolphins. This game, but I mean, I did not expect the Raiders of all teams to drop 63 points. But it's got to be, the Chargers gave up in this game. They did. So, man, what a disaster. What a disaster. I mean, Brandon Staley, and it's funny, he's like, oh, this happens to great coaches. Really? Has Bill Belichick ever gotten 63 points dropped on him? No. You're not a great coach. And it's funny because you go back to that press conference he had a couple weeks ago, and he's like, I run the defense. Saying all these things, right? Now, again, defense didn't give up 63 points, but they gave up a big chunk of it. Because you had 2, defensive touchdowns in this game by the Raiders. But, yeah. I mean, that first drive, I was like, this is not good. Chargers are in trouble. I mean, you go 3 and out, and then They go right down the field. Then you fumble. They score. I mean, it was like I was done from the beginning. 21-0 after the first quarter. This team didn't score any points last week. Yeah, so the Chargers, their season's over, in short. So with that, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we're going to preview hopefully some better games. They're not great for Saturday, but we'll preview them the Saturday tripleheader when we come back from our first break. So stick around. We'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we're back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to preview the Saturday tripleheader that will be on NFL Network. 3 games. They're all not great. Well, not all of them. The last game is pretty good, Broncos-Lions. But the first 2, backup quarterback games. But we'll get right into it. So, starting off with the first game, that'll be 1 o'clock Eastern time. We got the 7-6 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 7-6 Cincinnati Bengals. Now, looking at this game, Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow, they're playing in this game. It's a great game. This is a great game. But you're going to have Nick Mullins against Jake Browning. The Vikings coming off of a 3-0 win against the Raiders, who just dropped 63 points. So, they took out their frustrations last night. And then you have the Bengals coming off of a 34-14 win over the Colts. So going into this game, right now the Bengals are favored by 3. There's going to be no Alexander Madison in this game for the Vikings. So running the football, I mean, not that he's been great running the football, but running the football is going to be challenging in this game for the Vikings. Justin Jefferson's still questionable, but they were optimistic that he was going to play. So we'll see what ends up happening there. The Bengals obviously got all their weapons back. Vikings defense, they pitched a shutout last week. So, going up against Jake Browning, who's looked pretty good, this could be a little bit of a test for him. Because the Vikings defense definitely has been better than, it has been, than it was last year. The offensive rankings, the Vikings and the Bengals don't really run the football effectively. The Bengals are 17th in points. The Vikings are 21st. Passing yards, it's different with Kirk Cousins and Burrow being out. But on the defensive side of the ball, Vikings defense is 15th against the pass. Bengals are 27th. The Vikings are actually 5th against the run. And the Bengals are 25th. Bengals defense is 5th in points allowed. Bengals defense is 18th. So, this game could be close. For me, it's tough because now you got Nick Mullins starting. Like, the quarterback situation with the Vikings is my issue. Because at least, with Jake Browning, Jake Browning's looked good recently. And the Bengals got all their weapons back. So I have more confidence in them and them being at home as opposed to the Vikings. Now, if, Josh Dobbs was playing like how he's been playing, when they first got him, I'd probably ride with the Vikings. But right now, I got to take the Bengals in this game and lay the points. This game I don't feel great about. Last night's game I didn't feel great about either, whether I went with the Raiders or the Chargers. Unfortunately, I was on the losing end. This game, I just feel like the Bengals right now, they're the better team. You might give the Vikings the edge with the defense, but on offense, the Vikings with what's going on at quarterback and them not being able to run the football. Joe Mixon's been running the ball. He's been getting a lot of rushing touchdowns. And also Chase Brown, the rookie running back's been making plays. So, I don't know. I like what the Bengals have been doing recently, so I'm going to take them to win and cover. So, take the opposite. with everything I say, take the opposite. Because, yeah, I mean, especially after last night. So now we go into the second game. This is a big game for both teams here. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-6, taking on the 7-6 Indianapolis Colts. Right now, the Colts are 1.5-point favorites. That line initially, I think, was at 2.5. Now it went down to 1.5. Mitchell Trubisky is going to get the start again for the Steelers. The offense, the rankings for both teams. Colts are 17th in passing yards per game. The Steelers are 30th. Steelers are 15th in rushing yards per game. Colts are 16th in points. Colts are actually 8th. Steelers are 28th. And then on the defensive side of the ball, both teams are around the same in terms of passing yards per game. Steelers are 20th against the pass. Colts are 22nd. Rushing, again, around the same. Steelers are 21st. Colts are 26th. And then points allowed. The Steelers' defense is 7th, and the Colts' defense is 29th. But the Steelers' offense struggles to score points in this game. The Colts are coming off. I mean, both teams are coming off of bad losses. I mean, the Steelers lost to the Patriots and the Cardinals, who, are both 3-10. And the Colts, they came off of a tough loss to the tough rough. Same thing pretty much. They lost 34-14 to the Bengals. The Colts are at home. I mean, I look at them right now. Their offense is better than the Steelers. TJ Watt actually was in concussion protocol, I think. So, we'll see if he plays in this game because, the Steelers are a much different team when he's not playing. But the Steelers are kind of falling apart right now. I mean, they've lost to two bad teams. Mitchell Trubisky just is not good. So I like the Colts in this game. Again, I'm going to ride with one of the favorites. I like the Colts to win and cover. So I'll take them in that game. And then the final game, this is the best game of the day, thankfully. Hopefully this will be good. You got the Detroit Lions at 9-4 taking on the 7-6 Broncos. Broncos coming off of a win against the Chargers. Lions coming off of a loss against the Bears, losing 28-13. And now the Lions are back at home. And, yeah, the Lions haven't been playing great. And it's concerning. It's concerning because, we get to the playoffs, is this team going to be able to, win a playoff game? And right now it doesn't look like that's the case. We look at the rankings for these teams. The Lions are 6th in passing yards per game, 5th in rushing yards per game, 7th in points per game. Broncos are 28th in passing yards per game, 13th in rushing yards per game, and then 13th in points per game. Now, the Broncos have been running the ball better, and against the Lions' defense, which is actually 9th against the run. Broncos are 32nd, so the Lions could definitely exploit that. But their defense has been playing better. For the Broncos. Both teams are around the same points allowed. Broncos are 22nd, Lions are 24th, and are around the same against the pass. Broncos are 24th, Lions are 21st. Lions are actually favored by 4.5. Just the way this defense has been playing, I'm leaning towards taking the Broncos, just take an underdog. But I could still see the Lions winning. I mean, I feel like they got to win, right? But yeah, I mean, right now the Broncos kind of look like the better team. Better defense. Quarterback Russell Wilson did turn the ball over 3 times against the Texans, but for the most part, it's been playing mistake-free football. So I to be honest, I kind of like the Broncos in this game to at least cover, but I'm going to say the Lions probably still win. So I got all 3 home teams win. I got all 3 home teams winning. But I have the Broncos covering because I don't know. I could see the Vikings winning if the defense is able to force turnovers against Jake Browning. The Steelers could always pull off an upset that you don't expect, but I don't know. With Mitchell Trubisky's pretty bad. So bad that he had the fans chanting for Mason Rudolph. Yeah, I don't know about that. So, but that's, that could happen. But in this game, the Lions, they could end up, just destroying the Broncos in this game. It's, but they just haven't been playing great. Broncos have been playing like a better team. So, for a while now. So I feel like the Broncos could definitely keep it close, and I mean they could definitely win. I mean this game's a toss-up. Like I can't right now. I just really can't trust the Lions. You know, so I just hope the games are good. That's really what it comes down to. I just hope the games are good. You know, that's really all we care about. Is that the games are entertaining and not like last night. Now they'll be entertaining like if they help me out in fantasy. But actually, well, I have Jared Goff in a league. I have Russ in a league. Yeah, I got some players on Saturday that are playing. I'm gonna need big games from some guys. Cortland Sutton, I'm gonna need a big game from because going up against my cousin who had the Raiders defense last night. So, but I had Devontae Adams, so the matchup is still close. It's just 29 points out of a defense, you're already in trouble. So, but yeah, I mean we'll see, and we'll see how the rest of the year plays out because then we got 2 games the following week on Saturday. Then we got 1 because there's no Sunday night game on New Year's Eve. And then we'll see like what they end up doing the final week of the season. I think just have every game played on Sunday. Just can you please do that? Do we have to have a game on Saturday? And they didn't. No, they didn't move a game to Monday. I don't think. Right? I don't think so. Oh wait, no. I think they did. No, they did because they had. When was that? When was that Titans Jaguars game last year? Because that was for the division. That might have been, but that might have been for. That might have been on a Saturday. Let's see. Okay, so that was on December 11th of last year. So that was on a. That was on a. No, that can't be. It says Sunday. That can't be right. Oh, because that's the one. Because that was the one. That was from week earlier in the season. Oh yeah. No, it was on a Saturday. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, that was that was when the Jags started making their run. That was when they beat the Titans in Tennessee. I thought for some reason it was on the Monday because I remember it was on ESPN. Yeah, so that's probably what they're gonna end up doing. They're gonna put like 1 or 2 games on. Just put every game on Sunday. Because it's fun. Why do we gotta have a million games? Why do we gotta have games spread out? Just put all the games on Sunday. But for whatever reason, they don't want to do that. So, I'm not saying they don't do it at all, but we got to have now we got game on NBC next week, and then Peacock, which now with Herbert being out, now you got to watch Easton Stick against Josh Allen. The Bills should beat them by 30. Maybe more. If the Raiders can do it, anybody can. I cannot believe how that game played out last night. That was just. I had to watch it, but and it's just it stinks when you pick a team and immediately right off the bat this team has no shot. But I was I'm gonna take the points because I don't know. It's AidenO'Connell who had his best game last night. I was the Chargers defense is the Chargers defense that bad? I think they gave up. That's what happened. So, but hopefully these games are entertaining and I win all 3 of them because that would be nice. But I don't know. Some of these are toss up. Listen, you can feel listen. The Bengals have been playing well, but the Vikings, they maybe force some turnovers and Justin Jefferson has a big game and they win somehow. And the Steelers, they look like they're done, but they could somehow pull out a win and get themselves back, to their winning ways. And with this game, the Lions could just go off and the Broncos never have a chance. I don't know. I don't know. But that's one thing this year has taught us is you don't know. You really don't. It's week to week. So, but I've been pretty bad with my. I shouldn't say I've been bad. I've been average. It seems like I've been bad, but. So before we go to our second break of the show, once again, I just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure you go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will preview the early window games for Sunday for Week 15 in the NFL. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the third part of the show, we're going to now preview the early window games from Sunday. For my baseball people, my friend just sent this in our sports chat. So Tyler Glasnow, so I talked about this in the baseball podcast. The Dodgers, they acquired him and Manuel Margot from the Rays. So they also are working on an extension with him, so they're finalizing a 5-year, $135 million contract with Glasnow. So maybe that takes them out of the Yamamoto sweepstakes. Not really. I don't think so. But they at least got Glasnow, and they got him signed long term. So, all right. So let's get into these early window games here. So we will start off with. So we got the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So both teams are 6-7. Packers coming off of a loss against the Giants, and the Bucs coming off of that big win against the Falcons to put them in first place in the wonderful NFC South. So with this game, Packers are 3.5-point favorites. It looks like there's snow in the forecast. Obviously, the Bucs are returning to Green Bay for the first time since they won that NFC Championship game with Tom Brady back in, the 2020 season, but in 2021, which still haunts me to this day because, I wanted to see Rodgers get to another Super Bowl, but that didn't happen. But now it's very different. We got Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield. So the Packers, we'll see. I got to see what the injury report is, because if Christian Watson's out again, no Aaron Jones. I mean, I think Dontavian Wicks was also on the injury report as well. Like, if a lot of these guys are not playing, I might take the Bucs. Because Jordan Love, I mean, I think it also helped that the Giants defense. Well, one thing is the Giants defense played well. Bucs defense has been okay, but it's if the Packers are missing a lot of their guys again, might have to take the Bucs with the points. Right now, I got the Packers by 3, winning by more than 3, but we'll see. Speaking of the Giants, Giants are 5-8, taking on the 6-7 New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. Right now, the line is having the Saints favored by 5.5. I'm going to be on the Tommy DeVito train for this week. Because I don't trust the Saints. I don't trust the Saints. They have not played well this year. Offensively, they've just been wildly inconsistent. Derek Carr has been banged up. I think he's going to play. Chris Olave, hasn't practiced this week, so we'll see if he ends up playing in this game. They still don't have Michael Thomas, so they're probably just going to have to ride Alvin Kamara for this game. But I feel like the Giants' defense, they could keep it close, maybe force a turnover or two. Tommy DeVito, if he plays mistake-free football, Saquon Barkley, the last time he played in New Orleans, he had a big game, that overtime win they had back in 2021. So I think the Giants will keep it close within the number. I was silly to think the Panthers would do that. So I will take the Giants with the points. Then we go to the Falcons and the Panthers. Speaking of the Panthers, they are 3-point underdogs at home against the Falcons. I take the Falcons in this matchup. Because all right, well, here's the thing. I don't trust the Falcons either, but I The Panthers just cannot score points. They can't. And they had their opportunities against the Saints. They had plenty of opportunities. They were down, I think they were down 14-3. They could have made it a one-possession game. They still, I think, actually, did they even get points out of that drive? Because Miles Sanders had a big run that got them to the 2, and then they got pushed back. That game could have been closer, but they could not take advantage of some of their opportunities. Weather right now does not look nice. There's rain in the forecast. There's rain in the forecast for a lot of these games. So more bad weather on the way. We've been getting hit hard with bad weather. But I don't know. For me, the Falcons are the better team. I think they should win by more than 3. But who knows? So I'll take them. Then we got the Bears and the Browns, which could be a very interesting matchup. Now, Justin Fields, he made his first career start against the Browns back in 2021. And fun fact, so in my Dynasty League that year, because that night, now we've seen some of the games that Rodgers has played against the 49ers, against that defense, and it wasn't good. So what I did was I was like, all right, I'm going to start Justin Fields instead. And that was a very dumb move on my part. I think it was also just because I was like, I think I was doing it to spite Aaron Rodgers. Because I was like, you have not played well against the Niners. I'm not starting you. And what happened? They had that dramatic win against the Niners, and Mason Crosby hit the game-winning field goal. And Rodgers hit those 2 passes to Devontae Adams. I mean, Rodgers had a great game. I think he had 3 touchdowns in that game? 2 touchdowns? Something like that. He had a really good game. And, I still ended up losing my matchup regardless, but, yeah. Some fantasy stuff when it comes to that. But, yeah, so I like the Browns in this game. I'm not taking the Bears. The Bears, they beat, the Vikings, which they won 12-10. They just kicked field goals in that game. The Lions, that was a good win too. They have been playing better, and it's not like I shouldn't discount those wins because how they were playing earlier in the season, they look like one of the worst teams in football. They've been playing better. Their defense especially has been playing better too. That trade to get Montez Sweat has panned out, and especially now because you got Joe Flacco, who's not a mobile quarterback. So if the Bears are applying pressure on him, that could be an issue. But and Fields, at least for Fields, he's a mobile quarterback. But the Browns got a good defense too. They're at home. Flacco's been playing good. I like the Browns to win this game and cover, and the Bears come back down to earth. All right, so now we got the Jets and the Dolphins. So a few weeks ago, when they played on Black Friday, it was a blowout win for the Dolphins, but the Jets, they could have kept it close. Zach Wilson played good last week. Is he going to replicate that? We'll see. Dolphins are banged up on the offensive line. They might have no Tyreek Hill, and if that's the case, this defense should give Tua Tagovailoa a tough time. And I think the Jets keep it within the number. Number right now is 9.5. I think that's a lot of points, especially for this defense. Now, will I be surprised if the Jets get blown out? No, because that's the thing. I picked the Jets all these weeks. I pick them against the Chargers, the Falcons. They don't cover. Against the Raiders, but now I against the Dolphins. Now I don't pick them last week, and they score 30 points in the second half, which I didn't know they were capable of doing. So I think they'll keep it close. But I think the Dolphins still win. I'm not going to say the Jets are going to win, but I think they'll cover. Dolphins still win. Then we go to the Texans and the Titans. Texans coming off of that rough loss against the Jets, like I just said. Titans, that dramatic win against the Dolphins. I like the Titans to win this game. Right now the number is the Titans are favored by 3. I think in my spread pool it's like 2.5. I think the Titans win this game here because C.J. Stroud is going to be missing some of his weapons. No Tank Dell, obviously, and it looks like Nico Collins might not play either. So you're down your top 2 wide receivers. I think Dalton Schultz is going to play in this game, so that helps. But I don't know. I like the Titans in this game. I think the Titans. I think the Titans take this one. I might switch it, depending on if Nico Collins plays or not. I don't know, but yeah, I think take the Titans, and they also play better at home. So then we got the final early slate game here, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New England Patriots. It's Patrick Mahomes against Bailey Zappi this time around. Chiefs obviously coming off of that loss against the Bills, and we all know about Kadarius Toney and him lining up off sides. And actually, it happened again last night. I think Gerald Everett, and he did the same thing. So it's not just the Chiefs. That just happens to the Chiefs. It happens to other teams. Because I think the Chargers were going for it on fourth down, and Gerald Everett lined up off sides, and it just. Ugh. But Patriots also coming off a win against the Steelers. Right now, the Patriots are an 8-point underdog at home. Weather's not going to be nice. There might be no Isaiah Pacheco once again for the Chiefs. I don't know. I feel like they get back on track here. I mean, I know that, and listen, the Patriots have a good defense, but I think the Chiefs win by 2 scores. But again, what do I know? So, excuse me, to run through it again. So I got the Packers, at least for now, covering the number. Giants, underdog covering. Falcons covering against the Panthers. Browns covering against the Bears. Jets, underdog covering against the Dolphins. Titans winning and covering against the Texans. And the Chiefs covering against the Patriots. I'll be honest, I don't like that I'm taking a lot of the favorites. And also the weather's bad in a lot of these games. So, but I don't know. I mean, you look at I feel like the Chiefs are going to get back on track. I mean, the Panthers can't score. The Browns, I think, are better than the Bears. I think the one game, I don't know. I mean, the Bucks, I think, if the Packers are missing a lot of their weapons, they could probably, maybe cover the number. But I don't know. It's in the cold. I mean, does C.J. Stroud bounce back? Because I feel like when C.J. Stroud has a lot of his big games, they come they come at home. Because, yeah, they played at home 3 straight games. Well, then again, you also did beat the Bengals with Burrow. That was a big win. I don't know. I might have to. I gotta think about this. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I forgot about that because I'm looking at the injuries. C.J. Stroud's in concussion protocol, so he might not even play in this game. So, if that's the case, then definitely taking the Titans. Well, I think that's why the line's kind of moved up because it might be Stroud being out for this game. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably gonna get my typical 7-8 this week. So I just whatever. I'm very bitter about last night losing that game because I had the right team initially and then but that's the thing. It's like the games I switch, I lose, and then the games I don't switch, I lose. Whatever. It is what it is at this point. But yeah, when we come back from our final break of the show, because that's pretty much it with all the games in the early window. We're going to preview the late window games. That's what we will get into when we come back, and then that'll be it for the show. This show is already winding down pretty quickly. But like I say, everything goes fast. So got some big games in that slate as well. So that's what we will get into when we return from our final break. So that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we're back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are now going to preview the late window games for Sunday. And that'll basically wrap up the show for today. So let's get right into that. So obviously, we'll obviously do the Sunday night game last. So the first game we'll get into is the divisional matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are 3-10 coming into this game. They're coming off of their bye. They won 24-10 against the Steelers. Niners coming off of another win against the Seahawks, winning 28-16. The number's big. At first, it was Cardinals were underdogs, but 14-point underdogs. Now it's gone down to 12.5. Listen, Kyler Murray could definitely make things interesting. The 49ers they struggle at times with mobile quarterbacks, although they did a great job with Geno Smith, or not Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts a couple weeks ago. And the Niners are just rolling right now. They are by far the better team in this game. Could the Cardinals do have a it's a divisional game? Could the Cardinals backdoor cover? Yeah, it's possible, but I can't pick against the Niners right now. They are really playing their best football right now. Everybody's healthy, and I just don't see the Cardinals keeping up. I think Kyler is going to have a tough time with that defense. I still need him to do good in fantasy, which I think he will, but I just don't see the Cardinals really standing a chance in this game. So I like the 49ers. To win and cover, but yeah, that's the thing. I'm picking a lot of the favorites, but I can't really make the case for some of these teams though. This one you could, but I'm just not going to do it. So the next game you got the Rams and the Commanders. So looking at the rankings for these teams, so the Commanders, top 5 in passing yards per game. Rams are 14th, rushing yards per game. Rams are 12th. The Commanders are 23rd. Rams are 10th in points per game. Commanders are 23rd. Defense, Rams are 18th against the pass. Commanders are 29th. Rushing yards per game, or against the run, Rams are 16th. Commanders are 17th. Points allowed, Rams are 19th. Commanders are dead last. Their defense has been horrible. And they're coming off of a bye week, but They have just been, ever since they made those trades, their defense just has really been bad. Back-to-back weeks of giving up 45 points to the Cowboys and the Dolphins. Now you're going up against the Rams team that has looked better the last couple of weeks. Especially getting Kyren Williams back from IR. The Rams look like a much better team with Kyren Williams. And that's probably why they kind of, fell off a little bit. Now you got him back. Cooper Kupp, obviously, missed some time this year, but he's back. Puka Nacua has been great in his rookie season. And it's helped out Stafford. Stafford's getting protection. Yeah, the Rams look good. They look like the better team right now. Now, can I see a scenario where the Commanders out of nowhere, they just, cover the number? Yeah, I could see that. I could see this game, hurting me because, I don't feel great about it. But you know what? I think the I think the Commanders are just mailed it in. Their defense is really bad. Because here's the thing, I'm just afraid to go against the grain because after what happened last night, I'm afraid I'm going to change some of these games, and then I end up losing all of them. I can't do it. So right now I got the Rams covering the 6.5. And also the other thing too is Sam Howell is I think the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. So. And now you got to deal with Aaron Donald. So I'm going to take the Rams, and I'll live with it. Then in the next game, this is the final 2 games are big games here. So we got the Dallas Cowboys at 10-3 taking on the 7-6 Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Cowboys coming off of that big win against the Eagles to tie them for the division lead. Bills 7-6 coming off of their big win against the Kansas City Chiefs. Bills are favored by 2 in this game. Cowboys are due for a loss. They're due for the loss. The Bills are actually favored in this game, which is interesting. Because I would have thought the Cowboys would have been favored, but I'm going to take the Bills in this game. Don't feel great about it, but listen, the Cowboys are due for a loss. All right. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to get blown out or anything like that. This game's going to be a very competitive game. But I think the Cowboys are due for a loss here. Again, they're coming off of 3 straight home games. I don't think they're going to run the table and win every single game from here on out. I think this is the game that they should lose. Or not should lose, but like the game they will. The game, not they will. The game that of these next 4 they could most likely lose. Because, I mean, they have the Dolphins, they got the Lions, and the Commanders. I feel like they're going to win those final 3 games the way those teams have been playing. Well, it also depends on what the Cowboys do, at the end of the year, the last game of the season. Like, do they rest their starters? Like, I don't know. It's a big game. And let's look at the comparisons between the 2 teams. So, their league rankings. So, Cowboys are 3rd in passing yards per game. Bills are 7th. Both teams are around the same in rushing yards. The Bills are 10th in rushing yards per game. Cowboys are 11th. Cowboys are number 1 in points per game. The Bills are 5th. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the Bills are 11th against the pass. Cowboys are 5th. Rushing yards. Cowboys are 13th against the run. Bills are 19th. And then points allowed. Cowboys are 4th. Bills are 6th. So this is going to be a good game. It's going to be high scoring. Over-under right now is 50. I mean, there is rain in the forecast, so that might impact it. But I think the Bills, they continue to ride this wave and get another win. Because, I mean, they need to win out, basically, to make the playoffs. They got them. If they can win this game, they are in a great position. Because then you play the Chargers without Herbert, and then you play the Patriots at home. I mean, then you get yourself to 10 wins. I mean, and then in all likelihood, it comes down to them against the Dolphins for the division, which it looked like that was going to be the case. Then it didn't look like that. Now it looks like it could possibly the way the Dolphins have been playing. So, I'm going to take the Bills in this game. Again, another favorite. So, yeah, it's just I don't know what underdog to pick because I'm gonna pick the wrong underdog and then. But the thing is, why should I be afraid? But you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna have a really bad week if I switch a lot of these, and I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be like, oh, I never should have switched it, or oh, I should have switched it. Either way, it's a lose-lose situation for me. So now we got the Sunday night game, Ravens and the Jaguars. These 2 teams did play each other last year in Jacksonville, and Jaguars actually won this game, believe it or not. Trevor Lawrence threw a game-winning touchdown. I think it was to Marvin Jones. And then I think the Ravens got into at least Tucker's range, but he couldn't make the field goal. I think that's how that game played out. But yeah, this game's on Sunday night. Jaguars losing to the Browns. Ravens winning that overtime thriller against the Rams. I like the Ravens here. Trevor Lawrence is still banged up. I just think they're a better overall team. Now, can this game be a 3-point game? Yeah. But I like the Ravens. Better defense. Jacksonville's defense has not been playing well the last couple of weeks, and now they got the Ravens coming to town. So, I like them to win and to cover the number. But I might have to change some of these because I can't. I took a lot of the favorites. The Colts are a favorite. Bengals are a favorite. Packers are a favorite. Falcons are a favorite. Browns are a favorite. Titans are a favorite. Chiefs are a favorite. Niners, Rams, Bills, Ravens. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess like the Cowboys, but I don't know. I feel like the Bills, I kind of don't want to pick the Cowboys this week. But I don't know. I'm kind of a hypocrite too because it's like, oh, well, I'm playing to win. Well, you're not picking the Cowboys. So, because a lot of people are like, the Bills are not winning. Well, you know what? Maybe the Bills do win. I don't know. But it's just like I can't make the case for some of these underdogs. Like the Panthers, like they can't score. I mean, I guess the Bears because their defense has been playing better. But I don't know. I mean, do I trust Justin Fields against the Browns defense? Not really. I mean, the Cardinals could backdoor cover. The Commanders could. Because, I mean, the Rams defense is not the Rams defense that won the Super Bowl. They still got Aaron Donald, but again, it's not the same. But the Commanders defense is horrible. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to ride it. So, subject to change for some of these. But just to run through the late window games. So, 49ers covering the 12.5. Rams covering the 6.5. Bills winning and covering the 2 against the Cowboys, and then the Ravens covering the 3 against the Jags. So we'll see. We'll see what happens this week. But there's not that much time left. After this, there's only 3 weeks left in the season. So, and there's only 5 minutes left in the show. But yeah, I mean, another week down. It's wild. I mean, I said it in the last show. Just how fast the shows go. But yeah, and I did them from two different locations today. I did the show obviously in my basement today, the baseball one. That might be what I end up doing, but I don't, just for the baseball one. But then I'm back up here. So you got to see another room in my house with more Yankee stuff. So it just goes to show you we're all Yankees. We got a bunch of Yankee stuff. But yeah, in the basement we got a couple of other stuff because my dad's a Steelers fan, so we got some Steelers stuff down there. I think Brett Favre picture we have. We do have a corner where there is Giants stuff. But yeah, mostly Yankee stuff. So, and the Yankees are well liked by a lot of people. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about the games for this weekend. What's your favorite game that you're looking forward to? Because there's some big games on the schedule. But yeah, we're winding down, and next week obviously we'll go over more playoff scenarios and things like that. So as the regular season winds down, we're getting there. So, but yeah, like I said, like I said in the baseball podcast, so I'm gonna work on getting the shows up, the audio portion of the show from yesterday, up. So that'll be on, wherever you get your podcasts. It'll most likely, be on one of those sites, or streaming platforms. Work on getting the show up, onto YouTube, onto both YouTube channels. Actually, we're streaming on both YouTube channels, on here and on the GSMC podcast network YouTube channel as well. Because we were doing that initially, then we had to only do it from just the Sports Network YouTube channel, and now we're back to streaming both of them. And how we're streaming it, because then what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to stream it on all social media platforms, which is huge because that just reaches out to a bigger audience, but don't hesitate to leave comments in the chat. Obviously, there's the link as well to go to if you want to have your chat be highlighted in the stream. So but yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. I thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you tuned in for both. If you missed the baseball podcast, the full live stream is up, so you could just go check that out. Well, you can check that out on the GSMC Sports Network. It's not on the podcast network, but obviously the clips will be there for tomorrow. Just not today, because gotta wait to download the stream. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Again, once again, thank you guys for tuning in. That's all the time that we have. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.